It's like deja vu. It's like, hold on, wait. I thought we just broke Sean Strickland. Wait, what do you mean? Folks, in case you're out of the loop, in case you've been living underneath a rock, Sean Strickland is stepping in on short notice, actually saving the first main event of 2023 because Kelvin Gastelum, controversy aside, injury, I guess that's what we'll call it, quote unquote injury. I don't want to disparage anybody's name because at the end of the day, combat sports is a very interesting game in and of itself. And I think it's very, very fair to say, AJ, that skin infections and nasty, just disgustingness occurs often. So before we actually jump into this, man, what does this mean to you that the first main event of 2023 already jumped off with like, all right, we canceling this last minute? What does that mean to you?
You know, Derek, it's actually par for the course for me, man. I feel like with all the lumps and the boils and everything that presented when COVID came out, Dana White, the UFC, everybody's already kind of ready for this. And that's why they know that there's company men like Sean Strickland that are willing to answer that call and come in and actually put a good fight together. Now, if that happens, if he comes in a little gun shy like last time, we're going to break all of that down. But it's on par for the course for me, Derek. I'm not too surprised, man, and I don't think anybody at the UFC was either. Are you shocked to see it? Do you think this is going to set a tone for the rest of the year, or is this just another speed bump on the path?
I don't know. I think that this sets the tone for the rest of the year, man. You never want to start off this way, but it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And I'll tell you what, people have probably already completely forgotten about Kelvin Gastelum and him supposed to showcase here. And I don't mean that to be like people don't care about him, but I also mean that that goes to show like the trajectory of the career. Nonetheless, Sean Strickland steps in, saves the day. Doesn't matter what you think about the man. He's as game as they come. So with that being said, Nassourdine Imavov, French prospect, surging up the rankings, goes from the A side instantly to the B side, goes from a very tough matchup in Kelvin Gastelum to potentially a much, much tougher matchup in Sean Strickland. Now, if there's one thing that I think we need to be honest about here, AJ, is that Sean Strickland, ranked number 7, arguably, a lot of people thought that he got a win over Jared Cannonier. I picked Cannonier, so I'm happy with my decision there, but it was a close fight. So do you think that this step up in competition is advantageous or disadvantageous for Nassourdine Imavov? Because at the end of the day, you win, you jump up way more than you would have against Gastelum. And if you lose, well, you lost to Sean Strickland, and you weren't really supposed to win in the first place. So what do you think?
I think it all depends on how Imavov performs in the fight, Derek. If Imavov is able to have a performance where it's looking good on the stand-in, man, he's able to kind of perform the same way Sean Strickland did. That Jared Cannonier did, excuse me. It sets a very big tone that he's able to fight a guy who fought Jared Cannonier, who also fought Izzy, and they all went 5 rounds together. You know, there's a lot of praise that can go into Imavov doing that. So I think there's a big, big come up that he's having going into this fight. And therefore, he's probably not too stressed about it, man. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to change opponents. It's going to be a lot harder of at least a stand-up battle. We'll see if there's any mix-up that's going to happen on the ground. But as far as, you know, the projecting or the trajectory and the path forward, Nassourdine Imavov, is looking very, very good. Now, for Sean Strickland, though, I'm a little worried, Derek. You see the interviews, you see the chaos that he has all around him. He himself, has already said, yeah, the gas tank's there. I mean, he's not gonna be as shy as was last, or gun shy as he was last time. There's gonna be a lot of things going through Sean Strickland's mind. Do you think he's actually shaken off that KO as well as the quote unquote robbery that happened in his last 2 fights, Derek? Are we gonna get a focused Sean Strickland, or are we just gonna see chaos one more time?
To be completely frank here, I really do think Sean Strickland is going to be coming in here with a masterful level of focus. I think that he feels robbed from his last fight. I mean, he's openly said it. He's like, I got robbed in my last fight. Probably not the best mentality to take coming into this new fight. But ultimately, if there's one thing that we know about Sean Strickland is that he is training around the clock. Given his interviews and his antics, I don't think that we can buy into that any further. We can't really read into that being like, that's the guy that's going to show up, because even the last fight against Cannonier, the interviews were still goofy, but he came in there and he was game. He handled business. My real question here to you, man, because I'm going to kind of flip it back on it, is that is Sean Strickland going to have so much stuff going on in his head coming from the knockout? The knockout's long gone against Alex Prieto. We're not even thinking about that anymore. I think it's more going to be volume, style of fighting. We saw the judges didn't award you the victory with your style of fighting in the last one. Do you do rinse, wash, repeat? And hope for a different outcome. And it almost does, in a way, sounds like insanity, right? That's what they all say. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, like, you can still win this fight with this same style, especially when the judges are being called out for being incompetent and for not knowing how to do their job. Because in his head, he's like, dude, I just completely just like outclassed Cannonier. Not really the case, but in all honesty, do you think, like, that's the question, it's about the judges. Do you think the judges now are on the hot seat and are like, I gotta get this shit right?
Well, it's interesting too, Derek, because having the judging scoring system, it's so weird. Because if Imavov is able to evade the punches, not take the damage, but the output of Sean Strickland actually shows up this time, how do you score the fight, man? I mean, Imavov's looking good; he's not getting scratched up. Then then it's kind of up in the air again. But if Sean Strickland is able to pull the trigger, is able to get in on the inside in the punching range, in the boxing range he likes, and start doing that work, I feel like the judges have to award it, man. There's if you go back-to-back cards at the same performance, because it's not enough time has elapsed for Sean Strickland to really change his game plan. No. So if you go back-to-back, same methodology, arguably winning the fight either way, man, it's going to be a rough seat. And again, if like you said before, man, setting the tone, that'd be a rough tone to set for the rest of 23 for the judging.
100%. And now let's talk about the actual X's and O's here, because the reality is Nassourdine Imavov, karate style, right? Big, heavy right hand, beautiful check left hook, big kicks. But if there's one thing you notice about his game plan and his style of fighting is that he's a low volume fighter, right? If you look at the numbers, it won't really represent that. But when you watch him, it's a lot of pot shots. It's a lot of just like, boom, come in with the counter spot, right? Hit you with the big power. We know Sean Strickland's going to be touching you the whole fight. So when Nassourdine Imavov gets out of his last win, which, I mean, he's on a 3-fight win streak, man. You just beat Ian Heinisch, you beat Edmund Shabazian, you beat Joaquin Buckley. All very impressive. But let's be honest, man. Round 3 of that Buckley fight, things got a little worrisome. You know what I mean? Buckley, who is not nearly, I'm not going to say he's not the fighter that Sean Strickland is, but with such a different style of opponent, Sean Strickland is going to be able to keep it on you at a steady pace for 5 rounds. If you were gassed out at round 3, even though it was a high activity matchup, that's my big worry, man. Because I'm going to be honest, I was really leaning Imavov going into this thinking Sean Strickland short notice, but I was like, gas tank, problem. Volume, problem. Mentality, you get lulled into a firefight a little too easy, problem. Sean Strickland has none of those issues. So do you have any of those concerns, or do you like see where I'm coming from there?
No, I see where you're coming from, especially with the gas tank issue, Derek. That's the one thing that worries me. But what did, and again, we can't really play into the antics of Sean Strickland, but he himself was worried about the 5-round fight. He made a comment saying, "Oh, my cardio is fine. I'm training around the clock." But it's luckily it's not going to be a 5-round fight. Like, there's a way he said it, that a way that kind of gave me a little like, man, I know he's training and I know he's doing stuff, but he was admittedly planning a snowboarding trip, so not fully focused. But at the same time, and Sean Strickland doesn't need to be a fighter, or isn't a fighter that needs to be focused. This dude can come in and just get into a brawl. And if Imavov, like you said, is easily lulled into that brawl, then we're going to be in for some firefight or for some fireworks. And that's what I'm excited for, to see a Sean Strickland fight, man.
Who takes this fight to the ground first?
Imavov.
And that's the interesting thing. Sean Strickland, who is a very well-versed grappler, who chooses not to use it, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult to get him to the ground than most people are probably going to be led to believe. They're going to think Imavov, oh yeah, this dude could just take him down at any time. I mean, I don't really know if that's true. And if Sean Strickland can keep the fight on the feet and just keep you in that boxing range and piece you up little by little for 5 rounds, he can win the point battle. Now let's talk about these props, man. This is the really odd thing. TKO prop. 330 plus 335 for Sean Strickland, plus 350 for Imavov. The odds makers are thinking that there's a slight better chance that Strickland knocks out Imavov as opposed to Imavov knocking out Strickland. And in my opinion, I think it's going to be very difficult, if he cannot initiate grappling sequences and take advantage of that, for Imavov to win a decision here, in my opinion. So which one of these odds do you actually like, man? Because to be honest, for Imavov, I don't like any of these props. I don't understand any of these props. What do you think?
It's a little perplexing as well, Derek, but personally, I like the plus 350 TKO knockout for Imavov, strictly because Sean Strickland, he likes to stay there, man. He likes to stay in that pocket, fleeing things down the pipe. And as good as he is takedown defenses, if he's worried about, he's also not making the reads in the striking. So if Imavov is able to have just a little bit of success, I think the counter striking of Imavov is going to pay dividends later on in the fight. And hopefully that gas tank doesn't run out, brother, because like you said, that is a big asterisk right there.
Yeah,
I like the TKO prop. At the same point, man, I mean, it's like you said, it's interesting why it's that way.
I agree, and I'll tell you what, man. I think that Sean Strickland being clipped a couple big times by Jared Cannonier, one of the biggest punchers in the division, and not really flinching, really showed a lot about his chin. So Imavov, very, very powerful puncher himself. Is he a Jared Cannonier level power puncher? I don't know. That's yet to be determined. I would say no right now until he shows us something different. I have to rock with the Sean Strickland decision here. I know that's counterintuitive. I know you say, dude coming in on short notice, 5-round fight, gonna win a decision. Yeah, right. He's not some wrestler who's just gonna hold you down the whole time. No, but there is a style of fighting that produces results. And though he came up short in his last one, Sean Strickland also cannot afford to lose his third fight in a row. You know what I mean? So I don't think that there's going to be this level of, oh, I'm just a company man, just Donald Cerrone, cowboy in it. You know what I mean? I think that there's going to be a level of ferocity here, and I think he's going to try to prove that. Like, if there's a winnable fight here, this is the winnable fight. Last two fights, Alex Pereira, Jared Cannonier. Now you get Nassourdine Imavov a comer up. For Imavov, literally, you're coming off of the three biggest wins of your career in Shabazian, Buckley, and Heinisch. I mean, come on, bro. Sean Strickland fought Jack Hermanson, Uriah Hall, Christoph Jocko. Like, he's got a lot of these big wins that I think are completely in another stratosphere in comparison to Imavov's competition level, right? So I think this is just a different level of opposition right now, and these are two guys that are in different parts of their career. Either way, this is going to be a really fun one. And fun fact before we walk off here today, because like I said, I'm going decision. My man AJ's rocking with the TKO. This opened at -110 a pop. It is currently looking like Imavov is swole to a -125 favorite, +105 comeback for Sean Strickland. So interesting, but that's your main event, folks.